Hey everyone, VH here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video, we're going to be talking about your first E5. The main choices that people pick, including obviously the main two, Eloise and Holmes Young. Go through their kit a little bit, talk about the strengths and weaknesses of them, and mainly how they then interact with your account once you get your first Transcendence hero. If you like today's video, please make sure to check out all the other stuff on the channel and subscribe. So, let's get into it a little bit first. We will talk about Eloise first because it makes the most sense. What we are going to assume, the context to all of this, is that your first Transcendence hero is going to be Wukong. The reason we're going to assume that is because when we're talking about how useful these heroes that we're going to talk about are going to be once you get your first Transcendence hero, obviously that changes depending on who your first trans is going to be. Your first trans hero should be Great Sage Wukong. There's no reason it wouldn't be. So, we're going to talk about the first E5s on that basis. Let's start off with Eloise. This is the easiest hero to make as your first E5. If you don't know anything about the game, if you're coming to this fresh or whatever, this is the easiest hero to use, mainly because it's the most documented. So you can go on plenty of different websites or YouTube or Reddit or Discords and you can find pathings for Eloise, and it's easy to ask people's opinions and what they think about her and how to progress with her because loads of people have done it. It doesn't necessarily mean she's the best, it means she's the easiest. Eloise, in her basic form, is a tank. She wants to get hit, she then counterattacks. At the end of the round, they then take dot damage, which she inflicts from doing counterattacks, and she heals off of that. So, because your first hero is going to be over-leveled compared to the rest of your heroes and compared to your enemies, it's incredibly strong because she basically becomes unkillable. That's the idea of Eloise, that's her bread and butter. Get hit, counterattack, inflict a dot, heal off the dot. She also has a couple of nice little bits like reducing enemies' attack, which is cool, and she reduces precision as well on when a hero is slain. So she does little things like that. The main issue with Eloise is that once you get your Wukong, she's useless. Like there is no use to Eloise whatsoever. She's not going to stay in your account. You'll use her for the glory challenge, then you'll move on. In terms of the main game modes, I've never used Eloise. I've always been an anti-meta person. But I know that Eloise does well in Tower of Oblivion. She does well in Aspen Dungeon. She can do little tiny bits in guild bosses, though in truth, she's not fantastic at it. And she can do Seal Land. So she covers the main areas. In terms of PvP, she's not particularly strong. You're going up against people, say you had a V4 Eloise. I know this because we've just done it. I beat V4 Eloise with treasures and she has awakens, all that stuff, with a V2 Tix and a V2 Waldeck. So the second you've got heroes that have got a bit more oomph, she doesn't really hold up fantastically well to it. But PvP shouldn't be something you're majorly worried about. The next hero we're going to talk about, because we're going to do 2 per main faction, is Tix. So generally speaking, everyone builds Tix as a tenant for Eloise. These days that's completely irrelevant. With how quick you're going to get Wukong, you don't build Tix because he's a tenant, you build him because he's fantastic. You would still build him with an Eloise because of what he does. What does he do? He has a very unique skill set. So, for instance, we'll look at his first passive. When a round ends, if an enemy has higher attack than self, Tix will exchange his attack, and the basic attack targets the enemy with the highest attack, dealing a little bit of damage, and then dealing extra damage based on the target's attack. In the meantime, reduces the target's attack for 40%. Huge. Active skill. Deals a big chunk of damage, deals more damage based on the target's attack, and steals attack. Steals attack is different to other ways of it happens. So generally speaking, you either reduce attack or you increase your attack. Well, this does both. It literally steals the attack away. Can also silence and horrify the targets. So silence will be inflicted if they're about to do their active skill, and horrify will be inflicted if they haven't got enough energy to do their active skill. So yeah, all in all, incredible. And he also has some cheese about him. When he dies, he inflicts Revenging Wraith on the person that killed him. At the end of each round, deals damage by 30% of the target's max HP, and when the target is killed, deals damage against all surviving enemies by 30% of their max HP, and it caps out at 2500% of Tix's attack. This is really useful for cheesing things like Tower of Oblivion or Seal Land or PvP. You stack up a few of these little bad boys at say 5 or 6 star, you have one main hero, then you have lots of these little ones, and then when they die at the end of the round, they do this big damage, and it just is so incredibly useful. Ticks is great in virtually every game mode, whether it's Aspen or Tower or Guild Bosses, Seal Land, he can get to Seal Land 20 as well. And in terms of progressing further on in your account, once you have your Trans Wukong, Ticks is still absolutely viable to be rocking alongside Wukong. So yeah, overall, we really like Ticks, and Ticks just won our free-to-play competition, by the way. Thank you, Panda. So yeah, Ticks absolutely viable. Now we'll talk a bit about Holmes Young. Holmes Young is someone you'd have all heard about. Holmes Young and Eloise are the two main heroes that people build. There's good reason that people build Holmes Young, and would be my argument to being the best first E5. So, basic attack targets 2 enemies and poisons them, and he gains his potions. Whenever an ally, that's one of your teammates, releases basic attacks, he poisons one of the enemies. Whenever an ally releases active skill, he poisons 3 enemies. Whenever an ally releases basic or active skills, he initiates Blend, which gives him a chance to get more of his potions. We'll talk about them in a second. And at the end of each round, he gains 30% of max HP back. His active skill is insane. It does quite a bit of burst, though it's not massive. More importantly than that, he inflicts these big dots, and he inflicts shapeshifting, which is a hard CC, which is amazing. So he basically locks down the opposition completely, which makes him unbelievably strong. His passive skill boosts are damage reduction, controlled immunity, and speed, as well as a bit of attack. Again, damage reduction, controlled immunity, speed. He's incredibly tanky, incredibly fast. He heals, he does big damage, and he completely CC locks the opposition. He is phenomenal at basically every game mode. The massive advantage to someone like Holmes Young, as well as Garuda, who we're going to talk about, and base Wukong, is like their follow-up attacks. So if you imagine you've got your first E5 hero like Holmes Young, let's say he does 100 damage, and you've got your support heroes, they're all 9-star, 10-star, and they do 10 damage. So he turns them doing 10 damage into doing another 100 damage because he does his follow-up attack. It doesn't quite work like that, but you get what I'm saying. So it's another strength of his that whilst he's got his supports alive, he just follows up with more damage. That's why he ends up doing quite well in guild fights, guild boss fights, which is important early game, helps you build up your guild tech, vitally important. So yeah, Holmes Young's great. And then he transforms into this phenomenal support. So he then sits alongside Wukong. He's fantastic at Void Vortex. You can use him for PvP. Any game mode that you can still use base heroes in, Holmes Young is perfect for it. So we love Holmes Young. The second hero we're going to talk about is Penny, one of the OG heroes. She's a ranger. She has base crit and precision, which is nice because this works against Penny, against Eloise. Precision works against block. It also does more damage. Basic attack targets frontline enemies, grants herself 1 layer of reflection armor, and this is a mark. So next time she receives damage, she off-puts damage and puts it back on the attacker, and she increases crit damage, which is fine. Each crit deals 100% damage against all enemies and grants herself dynamite armor and reflection armor. Dynamite armor, when controlled, consumes a layer of it to offset the control effect. She has inbuilt CC shedding, which is fantastic, and again, reflection armor there. Something important to note, because I saw someone, and to be fair, I completely understand why they thought this. This deals extra 100% of damage. This isn't dealing 100% of her damage. What this means is, say she does her active skill, 450% of attack, and this crits, so it turns to, I don't know, 1,500% of her attack. That's another 1,500% of her attack there when she crits. So it's incredibly strong and bursty. So it's fantastic in PvP. It's great in Tower, phenomenal in Aspen Dungeon, and she can clear Seal Land no problem whatsoever. So we love Penny. The issue with Penny is that, like Eloise, she doesn't really have this massive place in the team once you get your Wukong. So she kind of falls off a bit. Can you use her for boss fighting damage? I suppose so. Can you still use her PvP? Yeah, but Wukong's obviously going to be the main damage dealer. You can still obviously use her for Fortress Seal Land, that's fine. But you should probably also have a Holmes Young, which means you've already got someone that can do Seal Land. So yeah, the issue with Penny is that once you've used her, she's kind of gone. But that's okay. As your first E5, she can still absolutely do bits. In terms of Abyss, we've got 2 we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about our boy Williams. I was really surprised at how well Williams done in our free-to-play competition. He done very well in every game mode. He done better than I thought he would. So this is one of those things where you can't just read the kit and go off of that. You have to go off of experience. And so my experience of him has been he does better than he looks. The other massive advantage of Williams is obviously if you want to go down the Williams route, you build your Wukong first as your first Transcendence hero, then Williams is second as your main damage dealer in that route and that route only. So you can build Williams up and it's not a waste of a hero. You've got him there. Yeah, he basically, let's read it. Basic attack, deals damage, 70% chance to increase holy damage, restores HP, which is nice. We love self-healing. It's really useful for Aspen. His passive skill depends whether he has 100 energy at the start or not. He becomes a bit more of a support, a bit more of a main damage dealer. And then his active skill does a lot of bleed. Divine Retribution increases all allies' holy damage by 8%. And then that will obviously go up when we look at his V4, 10%. So yeah, he's a weird one. He does better than you'd think just reading his kit. And he's also a fantastic contender for your second trans hero. So Williams can definitely be used. And the second one we're going to talk about, people will probably think I'm going to talk about Morax because I've done a couple of different Morax accounts now. We're not. Morax is harder than most to use. I cleared Tower and Aspen and Guild Bosses and Sealand 20 with a C tier Morax with virtually no train, but it was very difficult. We're going to talk about Waldeck. Waldeck's phenomenal, and the thing is, people talk about Waldeck because generally speaking, you build him up to 9-star and you use him for his death passive. But you don't just have to use him for his death passive. He is an absolute shredding machine with how much damage he can do, and early game, it's insane. Sealand, Aspen, Tower, all of those things are just so easy for Waldeck. So you can definitely, if you're not going to build up another Abyss hero, he can be the hero that you build up, that you get your copies for passively, that you end up using for your Glory Challenge, and he can definitely be used as your main hero. He does this insane burst, he does loads of healing, he's just got everything that you'd want in a hero, and the split side to that, when you get your Wukong, and you have your Waldeck, if you wanted to, you could always, once you've done the Glory Challenge, strip him back down, make him a 9-star, and then use him as a support again for the death passives, or have him as an E5 to shred through and do some extra boss damage, and he's solid in PvP as well. So yeah, we like Waldeck here. You can definitely use him as a first E5. Let's get into Forest, the weakest category certainly for first E5. We'll talk about the obvious one, which is Garuda. Garuda you get 5 copies of in the newbie growth plan, so therefore you can make a 10-star. She's also, do you know what? I don't want to lie. I have a feeling she's higher in the percentage of these as well. Because I seem to get loads of Garuda copies. No, she's not. Ah, it's not there, that's why. It's here. It's here. Is she one of the high ones? She is one of the high ones. 3.2%, so it's not massively high. The others are higher. That doesn't feel right with Olivia being there. It does with Oberon, get him all the time. But no, it's 3% from Elite Shards. But yeah, so you get your hero copies from the newbie growth plan. Garuda, like Holmes, Young and Wukong, does the follow-up attacks, which again just makes your team more powerful. She builds up damage reduction, she builds up crit whenever your allies perform active or basic attacks. She does this massive nuke of damage, which is insanely strong, and she has self-healing based into it as well. So her healing is here, isn't it? Yeah, restore self 30% of max HP. I don't think that you should be building Garuda anymore. I think that building her up to 10-star, keeping her around for a little bit of the game, and then feeding her off is absolutely fine. You can also keep her as your Glory Challenge hero. She can be used as your first E5, but where it's so easy to get copies of other heroes now, I feel like she fails a little bit, but she doesn't have a specific weakness. Like, she is strong in all the different game modes, so if you wanted to really store up your resources, your hero shards, all that kind of bit, you didn't want to commit, you can build her pretty cheaply. So she is someone that is definitely usable. And finally, we'll talk about Flora. So Flora is like a baby Holmes Young. She poisons, but it's not as much as Holmes Young. She heals herself at the end of each round for 15%, but it's for 2 rounds. So effectively it's 30% if she gets a couple of basic attacks off. This is where she's different. Active or basic attacks, when she's attacked, Flora reduces the all damage dealt by 10%, stacks up to 30%, whilst increasing herself 15% of attack for 4 rounds. So if you have her front line, she nerfs the enemy's all damage dealt and increases her attack, and she does end up hitting very hard. And her active skill starts off 30% chance to twine, and then it hits enemies at 5 times at most. It bounces between enemies. Every time the chance of twine drops by 5%, but every time the damage increases. But if we go to her V4, it starts off at 45% chance of twine, and then goes down. I rocked her on my non-meta account with a Dragon Rui, and the Dragon Rui made her extra tanky, gave her control precision, and I thought she was fantastic. The beauty of Flora is that, again, she does well in Seal Land. She can be used instead of Holmes Young in Void Vortex, which is fantastic. And she can be used as a general support throughout the game. But she's just like, as I said, a worse version of Holmes Young. You'd only pick her if you were going down that off-meta route. If you like her kit, you would just pick Holmes Young every day of the week. I've done it with Flora. She was very useful. It was very straightforward to do. But Holmes Young, I imagine, would therefore just be easier. Because more than anything, she doesn't have the 100% chance to shapeshift when she's V4, and she doesn't have the follow-up attack. But she does have all damage reduction and increase her attack. So it is what it is. But I said I really like Flora. So those are the 8 heroes that we're going to talk about. 2 from each faction. Now, here's a bit of context to this overall. I wanted to do this at the end of the video. Most of my videos are one of 2 things. Heavily reliant on graphics, or I sit and waffle for an hour. Completely different types of videos. So I wanted to keep this on topic without spending 3, 4, 5, 6 hours doing graphics. And I wanted to have a little waffle at the end. Your first E5 now, I really don't think matters. It used to, hugely. Like, it used to be so vitally important that your first E5 gave you this big boost because you'd sit there on that first E5 for ages. Now, not the case whatsoever. So now you can get your Wukong transcended 6 weeks from start, maybe 7 weeks from start. And if you get 2 good events within your first month of playing, then you could definitely do it in your first month of playing. In our VHL accounts, I had basically 5 million Stellar and I think 1.5 million Cot. So if I had another event where I could pick more Cot and I used my chests for Cot rather than for what I used them for, because we were doing a 4-week competition, so we weren't playing optimally, I would have had Wukong, I think, transcended by the end of, say, week 5, maybe middle of week 6. So it just doesn't matter now. I feel like what's much more important is that you're not wasting resources building up a hero that you're not going to be using once you've got Wukong. So for me, Eloise, therefore, I think is a bit redundant. As I said, if you don't know anything about the game and you're new to this, build Eloise, because it's very easy to get opinions on her. It's very easy to find your pathings. But other than that, I feel like her, Penny, Garuda are a bit wasted. Whereas I feel like Tix, Holmes Young, Waldeck, Williams, Flora all have this utility after you've got Wukong, whereas the others don't. And it's more about like hero copy chests and stuff like that, like what you're rushing, that I feel like is a massive waste going down this person right here, even though she's easy to use. So yeah, that's the video, to be fair. We're going to do our own one on support. We're going to do a support video and explain, not just, because this is the thing as well. Sorry, people ask all the time, if I'm going down the Holmes Young route or if I'm going down the whoever route, what supports do I use? You still use the same supports. Like, it's irrelevant what your main hero is. You're still going to want to have Ignis. You're still going to want to have Waldeck if he's not your main hero. You're still going to want to have Tix. You're still going to want to have... I've never bothered with carry, but carries. You're still going to want Drake. You're still going to want Heartwatcher. Still going to want Heartwatcher. And you're still going to want Olivia. So, yeah, that doesn't change. Because the core tenet of that is that you have heroes that help with your boss fighting. You have a hero that puts your control immunity up to 100%. You have a hero that increases your attack and heals you when he dies. And that's the fundamentals of the team right there. Your only real decisions come with supports once you get your Transcendence heroes, which route you go down. And for instance, I went down a bad route. But because I went for Basilisk, but I've got Wukong, Madeline, Natalie, Melissa, ignore Sylvie, Queen, Elena. Everyone's account is going to have these heroes other than Sylvie and Betty. So yeah, it just depends what route and which ones you pick first. But every account's going to have them. Same as every account should have the base heroes that we just discussed. But I said I'll do my own separate video on them because this is already 20 minutes long. But look, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Any more specific questions, let me know down below. Thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe. Discord link down below. Join it. It now looks officially pretty. We've had it done. Thank you, Excalibur. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe. VH out.